Welcome to Your Best Bets. I feel like the three of us haven't been together in quite a while here. A little bit of a different show tonight. We have not recorded a podcast this week on the 3M Open, a tournament no one really cares about, and much more important things going on in the local golf scene. This week is a city qualifier. We have 2 weeks until the city championship. So a lot of our podcasts are going to be tailored around the city the next couple of weeks. Joining me to discuss a couple items concerning the golf course and some of our thoughts on how that's all going to play out at Autumn Ridge, Johnny Strouser. Johnny, are we over the Rory heartbreak from last week yet?
I that's going to be a while because that one was one I was hoping he'd win. 150th Open at St. Andrews, but he fought till the end and just got lapped by a guy who was putting out of his mind and making birdies left and right, and he did what he had to do. But we're going to get over it, but it's going to take a little bit longer than I had hoped.
Yeah, it was. I wouldn't call it devastating, but it was one of those slow bleed situations. I'm sure Zach Fitzgerald has some thoughts on our boy Cam Smith probably going to the Live Tour, and he's probably excited about that, right?
I mean, I just want everybody to be happy, honestly. I'm tired of the bickering. I think it's unwarranted and unnecessary. But, the thing that I kind of took away from the Open is that Rory played fantastic. I mean, any other year he probably wins. Obviously, Cam Young would have also beaten him. What an eagle on the last hole. Pretty insane. But I hear these people saying that Rory choked again, and I just don't believe that at all. I just think he got beat by Cam Smith. And I mean, one of the historic final round performances, right up there with Johnny Miller. So, I thought it was a fantastic Open. I got to watch a lot of it. And, I heard a lot of people complaining about the condition of the course, but I just think that that's the way that a British Open is supposed to be played. And I thought it was fantastic. And every time, that we don't see it at St. Andrews for a few years, I forget how hard 17 is. I mean, just unbelievably impossible angle into that green from almost anywhere you are.
Yeah, I think the up and down on 17 by Cam Smith will be the shot that is remembered the most. That will be looking back in 5, 6, 7 years. That was the shot that really won it for him. And I agree with you on Rory. Sometimes you just get beat in golf, and he goes out and shoots 70. Probably 9 times out of 10 that probably wins it. And I mean, for both the Cams to play the final round that they did was pretty amazing. But we are here to talk about the upcoming city tournament, and more specifically in this show, we're going to talk about Autumn Ridge, the course that's hosting the city championship. This will be the third time that Autumn has hosted the city. 1996 was the first time, basically at that point, a brand new course in Fort Wayne. I think Autumn opened in 93. I'll let member Johnny Strouser correct me if I'm wrong there, but at that time, a really new course to the city. And then again in 2013, when Pat Kelly won, Dan Hall won the first time. Shout out Dan Hall if you're listening out there, winning the inaugural event at Autumn in 1996, won with the 218-2 over. Pat Kelly won in 2013 with a 1-over score. So I guess starting out, guys, Zach, why do you think Autumn Ridge is such a good fit for the city championship?
I think it puts a premium on driving the golf ball. It's going to separate guys that are hitting the ball solid. There are so many shots out there that you have to hit pretty much fairly straight and exactly on the line that you say. I hear people at points say at places it's gimmicky, and I would say that it's placement. I don't believe that gimmicky word. That's a weird word to me. I I think anything for a lot of players, it isn't just bomb and gouge, just gimmicky. So I think it is a fantastic placement golf course. You have to work the ball both ways. I think it does favor, just in my mind, playing a draw a little bit more. But wonderful golf course, great par threes. And it shows, I mean, when it holds a championship, it has yet to be won by an under par score. So kind of interested to see what it is this year.
Johnny, you've been a member there for quite a while now. Just your thoughts on why you think Autumn is such a good host, and why someone that goes through and wins the city there, why is it so meaningful?
Well, I mean, it's a fairly new course. I mean, course built in the early 90s, and that's I would consider that new by by modern standards and everything. The golf course, it's a tough golf course. It's a long golf course. It's longer than a lot of the local public courses that we've got in the area, and it does present challenges that you've got to be good at a lot of different aspects of your game to succeed on it. And it's got water hazards that are meaningful water hazards, not just for show. The water hazards generally come into play. It's got bunkers that come into play that are meaningful bunkers. Again, not something that's just there for cosmetics and, just to make the golf course look good. So it's a good test of golf. And I've talked to a lot of people over the years since I've been moved down here in the mid 2000s. And, they always recognize it as a tough golf course. There's a lot of people, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that have that are listening to this and watching this that have played the golf course at least once before. And they'll probably say, you know what, I don't like the golf course because it's really, really hard. That's because it is. I mean, it wasn't necessarily designed to be this local neighborhood golf course that, that you could get around in real quick and play a good score. I mean, it was built, to challenge you, and that's what it is. So, the golf course stretches out to, it's over 7,100 yards on the card. It's a little bit shorter because they've removed some tees in the last few years. So, but it's still long enough. And, I think that it's a good event to win because it, we always talk about these tougher PGA Tour courses and these bigger PGA Tour events and major championships, saying they want to bring out the golfers, bring out the best in their game. I think this golf course really does that. I've been a member here for probably 10 years or so, and this isn't one that I could just go out and shoot a ridiculously low score on. I mean, I can get around there and shoot pretty good, but it's taken me years to do that. And I think, that's something that the winner of this event, or anybody who plays well at this event, even if it's a Saturday game, with your buddies, you get around on this golf course and you shoot a good score, you got to feel good about yourself. Cause like what Zach said, it demands a lot with the driving, and it's got, well-placed hazards, and the greens are always tough. So, I think anybody who does play well here, it's going to bring out the better players, and it's going to bring out the better players who are playing the best at this point.
I like what you said about the fact that it really does test all the way through the bag. And I also like, Zach, what you said, that a lot of these holes are positional holes where your tee ball is so critical. And I want to get into a couple of those items. I'm gonna share my screen first to get started here, guys. I have Autumn's site pulled up, and I want to read this. I love this stuff. Autumn Ridge Golf Club, located on the north part of Fort Wayne, has developed into one of the most relaxing yet challenging courses in the area. Golf Digest awarded the facility a 4-star rating. I don't know about the word relaxing at times, especially if we get some wind. But we talked about the water coming into play. I counted, I think, 11 holes where there's meaningful water that is in play, and maybe I overcounted. I'm not sure, but I got the scorecard up on here on our Zoom meeting. almost 7,100 yards. You mentioned 70, 75 from the golds. For those that play this course and you play the blue tees, this is like two different golf courses from when you play the blue tees versus the gold tees. And I've played it from the blues. And then when I play with my friend Johnny out there, and I haven't played with him in a couple of years, we're like, oh, we're playing the golds. I'm like, oh, do we have to? Because you get on a couple of these tees, you're like, oh shit, this is a completely different hole. I'm not sure I'm wanting to play the hole from this tee box. Zach, kind of your thought process on that when you play a course that is so demanding off the tee and has so much length to it, like Autumn can provide from the tips.
I mean, I remember I was a member at Autumn, I think, for 5 years, and I remember kind of playing out there the first few times and really realizing that hitting driver straight was kind of the way to go. And then, on certain holes, driver not being necessary and not being needed and putting yourself in the right position was the best play. When it comes from the back tees, there are certain holes out there that I find easier from the back tees and certain holes that are obviously much more difficult. Certain holes, I think it takes a lot of the trouble, at least for a guy like me who doesn't hit it, 300 plus, certain areas that I can't really reach and get in trouble anymore. But when I go to a new course, a lot of times, I'll just scout it out online first, try to get an idea of, the layout. And then I just, try to pick a line. But there are certain holes out there that are somewhat blind tee shots in a way, and you really do need to know the line. So with a course like Autumn, I remember for the first few months, it was a real struggle to shoot a low score. And, you would get to a point where, you're playing well and there's just no let up there. There are other courses where, say, the front's harder than the back. You think if I get through the front well, then maybe I can shoot Brookwood's a course like that. I think that the front is significantly more difficult than the back, but Autumn, there's just no let up. You may have one easy hole, or easier. I don't want to say easy, but but there's always just 2 or 3 hole stretches that are extremely difficult. Then you get to the end, which are kind of my bugaboos. 16 and 17 kind of seem to bite me a lot. So I think that there's trouble for every single type of golfer out there, and that's what makes it such a great course.
Johnny, you playing this course, hundreds of times like you have. Do you agree with that assessment as far as the front versus the back? As far as scoring opportunities, I've always thought the front offered a little bit more of a chance than the back nine. How do you see that?
If you can hit, I think the front nine has more birdie holes if you're getting off the tee better. If you're getting off the tee well, you've got a good chance. The first hole says 428 yards. That is actually the putting green. The first hole is actually 390 yards or so. You can generally have a short iron going into that. 2's a tough one. If you hit a good tee shot on 3, which is the hard dogleg right hole, if you can keep it dry, you generally have a real short iron into that. The next hole, 4 is a short par 5 that you can usually get up by the green there in 2. So you've got some opportunities to get out of the gates. Okay. But if you're not hitting your driver well, if you're really struggling with that in any direction, you're going to be going through your entire sleeve of balls real quick. So, there is that other factor there, but if you get it going, I've always felt that if I can get some birdies out there, because there's some tougher holes on the back, tougher tee shots that you may end up losing 1 or 2 or hitting it into the trees or into the shit or something like that, and you may end up having to struggle to make shoot, let's say, an even 1 over 2 over round on the back side there, and especially when the wind blows in a certain direction. It makes a lot of those holes on the back nine tough. So really for me, it's get after the front nine on those, on those holes by hitting some good tee shots, get zeroed in on those, and then just kind of hang on the back nine is typically how I played that. I can remember just one quick story. I don't know if I'm going to have any stories because I can't remember half my rounds. I was playing in the club championship, and I was 3 or 4 shots back one year, and went out and shot 31 on the front. The guy who was leading it shot like 33. So I ended up being a couple back. And I ended up 31 and then 35 on the back for 66. And I just kind of was patient. I knew that if the guy I was playing against didn't hit it very well on his tee shots there, that he was going to get in some trouble, which is what he did. So, I ended up winning the club championship, I think by 1 shot with that good score there. But it was one of those things I was like, I got to get aggressive. I hit a lot of good drivers, a lot of good fairway woods off the tee, and it really got me in position with some short irons going into the greens there. So definitely for me is my thing is to get aggressive to start and just kind of hold on the back nine there.
Zach, to me, that just sounded like a warning sign for the field. Like Johnny can just shoot 66 at any time.
I absolutely can. I've seen him do it. Absolutely he can. And I think it was a little bit misconstrued what I said. What I was saying is that the front of Brookwood is much harder than the back of Brookwood. I do think the front of Autumn Ridge is easier than the back of Autumn Ridge. But I will say that I think you can gain more shots on the field on the back than what you can on the front.
Yeah.
I think that, a strong player playing well can also attack the back to where if you're struggling a little bit, you have to play defensive because one hole will eat your entire tournament and ruin it.
Yeah, good
but
point.
I do think the front's easier than the back at Autumn.
And I'm sorry if I misconstrued that.
No. It's probably the way I said it, honestly.
It probably is. No, guys, yeah. I like golf courses that give you, it's like a handshake agreement early on, like first hole. Think of like Riviera. It's like the easiest par 5 on tour, the first hole, and then after that, it kicks your ass. Now. Here's what I feel like with Autumn Ridge. I feel like to your point, Johnny, the first 4 holes, it gives you an opportunity early to get off to a good start, maybe a couple under through 4. Obviously, 2 is a very difficult par 3, especially from the golds. However, I think there are opportunities on 1 and especially 3 and 4. With a good tee shot on 3, 4 is a gettable par 5 that you could get a couple under, and then you can pick your spots throughout the rest of the round. 9 is obviously an opportunity. It's a much different hole from the tips versus the blues, as we talked about before. But that's what I like. It offers you a chance early, I feel like, and then there's scoring chances sprinkled throughout the rest of the holes. And of course you might throw in a birdie on say 14 or 17, who knows. I don't know, what do you guys think about that kind of ease in start in theory, and then it kind of some up and down chances throughout the rest of the round? Johnny?
As a golfer, I absolutely love the handshake start. I mean, give me all of that. I don't want to start out with a 450 yard par 4, something like that, where I'm having to hit driver 4 iron or something like that into it just to struggle to make a par. Now, if I was a golf course architect, that's a completely different story. Give me something that just makes them want to walk off the first green and just drive back to the clubhouse. But as a golfer though, and as you got to make these golf courses playable for, 2 handicaps for scratch golfers and for 20 handicaps. So you can't make it, overly tough. What I like about these though is like I said, it's about the placement of your drives. It's about, you can make double on 1 very, very easily by hitting it into the hazard, and you can toe hook 1 on 2 into the pond short of the green and make double, and you could hit 1 in the water on 3 and make double, and 4 you can snap hook your 3-wood or your hybrid left into the pond on 4. So, I mean, you could start out just with the worst possible score there, but it's not though built to where you can't play away from that stuff and still have golf shots. And that's the cool thing about it. And years ago, they had a lot more trees. They have lost some due to storms within the last, 4, 5, 6 years. So it has gotten more open, and it's gotten, a lot more accessible, and you could play away from that stuff, but it's just about coming up with a strategy there. But I like the start because it can, I could start well, and I could look at, okay, we might post a score in the 60s here if I can keep it going. But it's also, I could start out 2 over through 4, with a bad shot or 2. And I'm like, you know what, I'm going to have to find a few more here just to get back to even par. So I think that's where the fascination with how this golf course is set up, on how that can go both ways, if you're not on your game.
I feel like there is a lot of risk reward around here. You mentioned like the tee shot on 3, maybe the second shot on 9. That's something that you have to consider if you get your drive down there. The tee shot on 10. Zach, does that come into your mind playing this golf course? It probably depends on how well you're hitting it off the tee as well, though, right?
If we're talking about 9, if it plays the tips, it's going to be extremely rare that I'm even going to have the option to go for it. From the blue tees, if I hit it well, obviously I can go for it. If I don't hit it well, then that's where kind of the questioning for me. But that's kind of one of those holes that I'm talking about on, from the golds, that kind of takes all the difficult decision making out for me, because even if I pound a drive, I don't think I can get it over the water, or at least percentage wise enough times to make it beneficial. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I played that place a lot of times, and there's some scar tissue that comes with, just thinking about certain positions that you can get yourself in there. And you talked about one, and it is a bit of a handshake hole at times, but like Johnny said, I mean, hit it right into the water, you're making double, hit a good drive, and it doesn't, sit in a position, you have a downhill, side hill lie into a green that, can be a difficult shot. So yeah, there's a lot of trouble out there. And certainly that comes into my mind every time I play it. It's the rounds that you can forget about that stuff that are the good rounds out there. The rounds that you can just go out and feel free that I've always played the best out there. When I get nervous is when I always struggle out there.
Yeah. I go back to, I feel like it's fair. If you're hitting the ball well, you're going to be rewarded with probably a lot of birdie chances. If you're not hitting well, it could really take your lunch, and it can do it quickly. Johnny, what's the hole that people in 2 weeks at the city are going to just dread playing, you think? You got me? You hear me?
Okay, hang on here. My internet was going out there. I think we're back. I heard what's the hole what?
I said what's the hole that the field is going to dread playing in 2 weeks the most?
Oh, it's going to be what is it, 10, 11, 13. 13's got that tough tee shot. It's back into the trees, and you've got you've got thick trees and I-69 on your right. You've got thick trees and creek and out of bounds and everything like that on the left. And there's no room for error on that hole there. And you've either got to lay it back, or you've got to hit driver and try to get past everything. But if you get past everything, do you really get past everything and stay in bounds there? So I think that's going to make a lot of people nervous. And the funny thing about 13 for me is that if I'm playing well, I can go 3 straight months with just hitting driver with my eyes closed and striping it down the fairway. And then I might hit one bad tee shot on there, and then it just it just scares me for weeks, you know. So it can create scar tissue there on 13 there. So that's going to be the big one there, that if people get too aggressive, you know, trying to push the round, because we're getting near the end of the round there, and you've only got one par 5 left, you know, to be able to, you know, if you hit a good tee shot, you've got like an 8-iron going in. So you've got something like that short going in. But I mean, you could lay back and hit a 3 or 4-iron, and then you've got probably a 4-iron coming in. So It's one of those decisions that it could go either way. Do you really want to push it? Do you really want to risk losing a ball? The good thing though is the way that they'll play the hazard on the right, even though it's I-69, that's generally played as a water hazard. So you hit it in the trees, right, and if you hit it even further, it's not out of bounds, so it's not stroking distance. But still, that's a penalty stroke. So, you know, it's one of those ones that you know, I think is going to be pretty pivotal come the event that's coming up.
You know, the thing with 13 that can also kill you. Say you are in the hazard left and you have to take a drop up there. Then it's almost like a chip out, where you can't even really advance it 50 yards short of the green. You got to chip out sideways and still have an 7-8 iron in for your 4th shot. So, 13's key. You know, me as a guy that hits a cut, 11 can be pretty terrifying, especially from the tips, having to play like a 4-iron, 5-iron, and, you know, aim at the left edge of the green over the water. That's usually just a bailout short right for someone like me. Zach, what's your thought? 11, 13, another hole?
I mean, obviously 11 and 13, but, you know, I think 2, 11, 13, the tee shot on 15 is going to be trouble for people the entire week, depending on what the wind is. 16 is a difficult hole. I think what's going to surprise people, honestly, the most, and it's probably giving away too much, but is how many people are going to hit it out of bounds on 12 on their second shot. And I don't mean like out of bounds, flailing it far to the right. I mean shots that they think are fine that have gone out of bounds. Because
that sneaks up on you, doesn't it?
I mean, unless it's changed, if it doesn't rain a lot, kind of like it has been, that right side of the fairway starts getting pretty dry. And if it hits anywhere pin high near the green with any type of cut spin, it's going into the woods, right? So, yeah,
you got that cart path. You got that cart path that's right there. That's a pretty tough one.
Yeah, I remember multiple times, you know, hitting shots that, you know, I saw land thinking, well, I mean, we're going to be pin high with a short-sided chip, not great, but then you get up there and it's gone. It's, you know, a foot out, and you're like, how did that happen, you know? I always remember that was just something that surprised me, something that didn't seem like it should be, that is absolutely the case out there, that I think is going to bite a lot of people.
Yeah. Zach, let me ask you this one here. What about that second shot into 17 with that green slope?
Yeah, that's a hard one. You know, I always just tried to hit a hybrid or something out there to the right portion of the green, obviously the right portion of the fairway, trying to avoid, you know, that bunker. And then, you know, my miss, I was always just trying to miss short. And if it ran up there, it ran up there. You know, that was always a par hole for me. Always played as a par hole. Birdie there is just a gift in my mind. You know, multiple times did I get greedy playing well with a good score, trying to hit a back pin there to hit 5 feet in front of it, thinking that it was going to be good for it to jump 6 feet over the green to where I make double and ruin a good round. So, I think that is going to be a pivotal hole as well. You can't miss anywhere but short. So,
what's Johnny, what's the best hole at Autumn?
Yeah, you also can the best hole at Autumn. Best hole. I'm going to say it's probably, I think 14 for me. 14 is a pretty benign par 4, but the green is tougher than what you think it is. So the 14 used to have a 1 bunker on the left, or 1 bunker on the right, 2 bunkers on the left. They've removed the 2 bunkers on the left, so it's just kind of hill. And if they move the tees up, you can stuff it up there pretty close. And they've got that pond on the left. It really doesn't affect anything except for maybe a pulled tee shot. But the green there, they've got a lot of good spots for it, and they've got some really solid pin placements that they can do. And making birdie there is actually a pretty good feat. It looks like it's an easy one. You almost kind of not should make birdie, but birdie should be doable. But it's one of those ones that it's got a wide fairway. And if you hit it far enough and you can hit it over the right bunker, it's actually not that hard of a hole, because then you can just kind of middle of the green, and it's a pretty sloped green, but you can 2-putt for your par. But you lose it right where the pine trees are. You lose it left, you might be close to the water or under or behind some trees. Then you got some decisions to make. And then if you miss the green long, and they've removed the right green side bunker, so it's just grass, you could go down the slope. So it's one of those ones I like to play because it kind of makes you think after you've already played 13, which is a tough one. But it's one of my favorites just because, like I said, I like hitting iron shots and wedge shots into that green, because it really kind of makes me strategize where I want to come in on my tee shot, and then where I want to leave my ball for my birdie putt.
I didn't see that one coming. I didn't see 14 is the best hole.
Unsung hero of the golf course.
That's a good one.
It really is. I probably, if he didn't say that, might have said that too, as a sleeper. I just think it's a wonderful hole.
I kind of like 10. I think 10 is a good hole. I think it's challenging, but if you hit a draw there, you can get it into, to a certain point where you're hitting, I don't know, 9 iron, and kind of down. I like that shot, that approach shot down the hill. I just like that hole. I think it's a fun hole to play, but it's also like you could make a double there pretty easily as well.
Mm-hmm.
That tee shot's good as well.
I think for me, 15 would be what I think is overall the best hole. If the green complex wasn't as flat and a little bit more complex, I think it would be almost a perfect hole. It gives you so many options and so many ways to play the hole. And that's, to me, the gauge of, the greatest golf holes to me are just, how they can be played many different ways to get the same result. And that's, a hole that you can just pound driver and hit wedge into every time eventually is going to get boring. But, 15 poses so much trouble in every direction. And, you have to decide if you're going to be brave and hit that drive that does honestly give you a serious reward if you're able to get it within a distance to get to the green, because most people are going to hit irons off the tee and, have to lay up to 100 yards and try to get close there to a green that isn't as forgiving as it looks. So I think 15 is a great hole.
All great points. Yeah, I agree with you. I like that point of the number one, how many different ways you can play a hole, how many different ways it might play during the week, depending on wind and the direction. So I like that. Most 3 putts of the week, maybe number 8, Johnny?
On 8?
If it's a front,
eight
front or middle pin?
17 or 8. But yeah, I mean, we already talked about 17, but 8, yes, they have. It's interesting. They pulled, or they filled in the right of the green bunker that they had there. So they've kind of turned it into some chipping areas. So you actually have some bailout room there, but the whole green, except for the very, very back portion, is very, very sloped. So it's one of those ones that you probably want to keep it underneath the hole, because you want that uphill putt. If you're pin high there, you've really got a sloping putt. And if you miss the green left or right, you've got that basically you got 10 feet of break on your chip shot. So that's going to definitely be one. That hole there, most likely, depending on how firm it gets, and then really the wind direction, but how firm it gets, that's going to yield a bunch of high scores. I mean, because it's got the pond left, it's got the pond through the fairway, and then it's got that tough green. So that's going to be one that I see you're probably going to want to hang on for dear life and just get through that hole and get to 9.
Third city in 25 years. You guys call it. Is the winner going to be under par, Zach?
Yes.
What do you think, Johnny?
Yes, the winner is going to be under par.
Clean sweep on that one. I think players are primed and ready, and there's a lot of guys playing well in the area, and we've talked about that in some of the other shows. So I think this will be the first time we'll see the winner under par. Final word, guys. Zach, what do you think about the week?
Excited to get back to Autumn and play. Like I said, a place that I have a lot of fond memories playing with, a lot of great guys and great players. Johnny and I used to play in a Saturday Skins game with the likes of Pierre and obviously Johnny, myself, Vernasco, Matt Schmidt, Kevin Irons. There were so many people that played in that game. I mean, we'd have upwards of 30 people playing in that game, playing from the tips. And, if I remember correctly, the low score would normally be 1 or 2 under maximum. So, it's just a tough golf course that even played every single week from those tees. It's still tough to shoot something with a 6 in the front. So, yeah, super excited. And, I do think the score will be under par, but I don't think it'll be many under par.
Johnny, you got to be excited, obviously, as a member playing there as much as you do. First time in 9 years.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited that it's finally here. Just a couple weeks away. I'm hoping that they make the golf course pretty challenging to show the city, the residents and everything, that how tough the course can play. And I hope they make it a good test. The golf course is in phenomenal shape. The rough's a little brown, but brown is beautiful. And the fairways and greens are firm, but they're green. So it's going to be a fun test. It's going to test everybody's game. And, for the people who are playing in it, hopefully they'll, be on their game and everything. But it's one of those things that if you don't play well, sometimes just the golf course wins. And I think it's going to beat a lot of people, but I hope a lot of people who have some good rounds and some good stretches can feel good about how they're playing, because this is one of the tougher golf courses in the area. So very, very excited. Glad we got to talk about the course today. Looking forward to what you've got content wise coming up here in the next couple of weeks, and, where we can preview it and talk about it afterwards.
All right, guys. Johnny, Zach, appreciate you coming on. And first podcast of a couple about the city, and we'll have some more coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Check out Your Best Bet on Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel. And we should have more City Championship content coming up in the next couple of weeks. So appreciate you listening and tuning in. We will catch you next time.